So today we're going to be hiking in a new location. This is McCrae Lake Provincial Park. I've been to this park before, but I haven't actually hiked as far as the bluffs. So what we're going to do is we're going to hike out to these cliffs out on the far end of the park, and we're going to hopefully get a good sunset today. So let's see what happens. I've chosen this size of doing a 48 by 66 inch tall canvas just because it's a nice dramatic tall canvas that'll really suit this image. Now what I have to do is choose exactly what I'm going to use for my underpainting. So the underpainting is the color that goes on the canvas first, and it's chosen based on what I think will work best in relation to the finished painting. In this case, I think a two-tone underpainting that's cool in the bottom and warm in the top. So I think I'm going to start with some blues in the bottom and put some magenta in the top of the canvas. Once I have those paints on the canvas, then I'm going to mix them around, spread them around, and then we'll be able to start from there with the actual drawing process. The next thing I'm going to do is mix up a dark paint. I'm going to use a nice mixture of greens and reds and kind of mix an almost black color. I'm going to use that to do a line drawing on the actual canvas. So this line drawing is going to serve as a guide to me when I actually add the colors, and then that'll make that process go a lot better. Now that we're adding some of the colors, I'm starting with the darks and working to the lights as I always do. But in this particular instance, I think adding the cools and finishing the foreground first is important. That way it'll add for a good anchor for the actual sunset, and it will help to inform the images and the colors I use for the upper part of the canvas. Sometimes you have to think about shadows in any surface, like rocks or even on one side of a face if you're painting a portrait, as being a representation of what's in the cooler side of the image. So if the sky is blue up above you, but the sunset is very orange, on the cool side of the person that you're photographing or of the tree or of the rock, it's going to be blue because it's going to be reflecting that cooler atmosphere behind the camera or to the side of the camera or your eye. So it's really important to make sure that you understand the exact colors in the entire environment and use those in the shadows, and that gives people a much better sense of being in the image and getting a sense of the atmosphere. So what we're going to be working on here is something called atmospheric perspective. So atmospheric perspective is when you actually have the density of the atmosphere between you and the object changes the colors. So if you think of a mountain way off in the distance, it may appear blue or purple, whereas the trees really close are green. The trees in the mountain are green too, but it's the atmosphere between you and that mountain that dictates those colors. Now when you're painting, you want to figure out what the shift that's happening is and accentuate it. Because if you over-exaggerate the shift in atmospheric colors as the distance goes back, it'll give you a better sense for the feeling of space and atmosphere inside that painting. Now that it's the second day, one of the things we're going to be working on is pulling in all those details. So one of the important things to keep in note is I want to really make sure that you feel the separation between the background hillside and the actual tree in the foreground, the focal point. It's really important to separate the two because it's quite a complicated background, so it'd be easy for it to get lost. So we're going to work on those techniques I was talking about to really make sure it's separated and make sure it looks good in 3 dimensions. Well, I'm super happy with how this painting turned out. I think the way the distance turned out with the shadows in the foreground and the light in the background, it really makes for a really dramatic painting. When I look at it, it truly does remind me of the place that I was when I took the original photo, so I'm super excited. I hope you guys like it too. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.